66 yards rushing, 50 through the air, a touchdown rushing, a touchdown receiving. This was quite a game for you. Talk about it a little bit.
I got to thank the guys up front, of course, my teammates. I got to thank the whole team personally. It's been a real long journey these last 2 years, and I'm just happy that I chose the decision to come back for the last game and do what I did today for this team.
My bad. Sorry to cut you off, but you mentioned that decision to come back.
Yeah.
What went into that, and just how much did it mean for you to be able to come back and help this team out?
Just to finish it off right, like I said, like I dwelled on, like these last 2 years hasn't been ideal for me at all. It's been rough, dealing with a lot of mental issues, and it's just, like I said, man, I'm just happy that I was out there to showcase what I'm capable of and why I should not be on the goddamn sideline. So I'm not holding back from nothing. I'm just happy it ended the way it did.
What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James. I'm back in these streets. I'm in these Miles Sanders streets, as you see some of the highlights right here. These are his Philadelphia highlights because obviously great block right here. He didn't have the greatest Carolina Panther highlights, and that's why a lot of people are frustrated. Like, and therefore, why y'all don't? I'm going to go ahead and give you a Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Because as you check these highlights, he's only 2 years removed from 1,300 yards, 4.9 yard carry, had 9 runs over 20-plus yards, as you see him right here. I get it, y'all. We want it back. But when I seen Rico Dowdell last year, right, I was on a Rico train for the last couple of years. You keep watching these highlights while I'm talking, and you see what he's doing. I'm just not going to believe a running back's going to fall off like that in 2 years and still be in the age of 28 and don't have a lot of tread on his tires. Miles Sanders said himself that there was a lot of things went on in Carolina. They're not a winning team. Bryce Young was not good his first year, so they haven't had a good offensive line. I know Chuba Hubbard has done well, but let's keep it real. That wasn't a winning organization over there, and you didn't have a great offensive line. I'm going to say that the offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys is going to be a little bit better than the Carolina Panthers, so I think of Miles Sanders, as you see him here being effective behind a good line, it's going to make a difference. And if your team is not good, mentally, you heard him say he was going through a lot of mental things. If you're not there mentally, you're not going to play good physically. So that's what I'm going to say right there. Am I giving an excuse for Miles Sanders? No, I'm not. But when I watch these highlights, I don't think he's that washed up. 28 years old, 1 year deal. Let's give him a chance. I hear so many people, and I was one of the people that mentioned Nick Chubb more than once, so let me not lie in these streets and say I didn't claim from Nick Chubb. But I was a little lazy, had to watch Javonte Williams, had to watch Miles Sanders, and I'm sitting there thinking, Nick Chubb, he might be signing with the Texans right now, but he's 30 years old. I almost had a career-ending knee injury, had foot injuries, almost on the wrong side of 30. So I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, sprinkle in a Jaden Blue, and see what that happens. Because Javonte Williams, your power back, Miles Sanders, as you can see, can be your speed back. And then you sprinkle Jaden Blue, who has all worldly speed. And I think you have a great combination right there. Let's give it a chance before we jump out there and say, let's go get a running back because you're lacking one. Because when I watch these highlights and I see Javonte Williams, I think the Cowboys will be okay. What's good, everybody? It's Big Game James. I'm in these streets. I'm in these driving streets today. Look, I got my little doggy. Where my little doggy? Where my little doggy? Where my little doggy, Sebastian? I love you. Look at my little Yorkie. Well, it's not mine. My babe got it.
Hi.
She got it. But we in these driving streets today. Okay? You know what I mean? Talking about some Miles Sanders today. I'm going to jump behind the wheel, but I got to do the video first. So I'm going to knock the video out, and I'm going to jump behind the wheel. But this video is quick videos about Miles Sanders right quick. And the reason why I want to talk about Miles Sanders is Nick Chubb just recently potentially might be getting signed by the Houston Texans, and a lot of people like, oh, we want to get Nick Chubb, and I was out there saying, hey, let's look at Nick Chubb too, but then I'm like, man, I told you got to do a Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend, because when I see Miles Sanders and then I see Javonte Williams, I'm like, can we give this a chance? Can we just not sit there and say, we need a running back and this is terrible and this is the worst running back group ever? I can't say that, because if we look at that running back room last year with Rico Dowdell and Ezekiel Elliott, that wasn't a good running back room. This room is improved from last year. And I get what people are saying about Miles Sanders. He had a terrible 2 years at Carolina. But as I said, when I posted that video in the very beginning, you heard Miles Sanders. He went through a lot of mental issues. I'm not making that excuse for him. But what I am saying, with my dog, little Sebastian right there, looking out the window. You see him looking at the window while we're doing this? All right. So what I'm saying is, he said he was going through a lot of mental issues. He was going through some things that he didn't even want to talk about, and was respectful and said, you know what, I'd rather keep this behind closed doors and I'd rather not talk about it. First of all, let's give respect for Miles Sanders for not releasing information from the locker room, right? So right there, you're getting big props. So when we look at Javonte Williams, that's your power back. He's 3 years removed from his injury, right? I said, let's give him the first shot, and I'm still with that because he is your bruiser. He's your guy that you want with the power running game. Miles Sanders ran a 4.4 coming out of college. I just don't think he just fell off with his speed. If you looked at some Carolina highlights, he still had the speed. He still has his moves. But guess what? You did have Bryce Young your rookie year, and that was an absolute travesty as a first year. And then you might not have been hyped in the running back room any longer with Hubbard there. So when you look at those things, you might have just fell out of favor. That doesn't mean your skills have diminished. It means you just fell out of favor with the team and they paid you a lot of money, and Hubbard was a little bit less, and then they drafted the running back. So you can see why they were possibly going to move on, because it was going to cost them too much money, right? So that's the logical choice. He's only here in Dallas for 1 year. I understand. But when I look at this room, it's better than last year. Let's give it a chance. Let's see how it goes. Because like I said, I don't feel like a Miles Sanders' skills just fell off the total map or off the planet in 2 years. I'm going to say that Carolina experiment was not good all the way around, because that organization is in disarray right now. You know, and they're still seeing if Bryce Young is the answer. So before I get there and just say Miles Sanders is done and Javonte Williams is done, let me look at the situation at Carolina. Let me look at that situation at Denver and say those probably weren't the best situation for those running backs, and they're going to get a clean slate in Dallas. So I'm not going to jump out there and just say we need to go get a running back right now. Let's get to camp. Let's see how camp goes. Let's see how preseason goes, and then let's move on from there. Because this offensive line, I definitely feel, is going to be better. So if the offensive line is going to be better as a whole, your running game will be better. You had Rico Dowdle get 1,000 yards a career year, and he was not a shifty back. He was a straight line runner, and you still got 1,000 out of him. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Miles Sanders has more ability than a Rico Dowdle. I'm going to go ahead and jump out on a limb and say that, all right? And I'm going to also say Javonte Williams, who was a second-round draft pick, Miles Sanders, who was a second-round draft pick, Rico Dowdle, who was undrafted, Ezekiel Elliott, who had 100 million miles on the mileage tank. I'm going to go ahead and go with these new guys, and let's see what they have first. And then, as I said before, if you got a Miles Sanders, you got a Javonte Williams, you sprinkle in that super fast ultra Jaden Blue. I like Phil Maffa, but I just don't think he's going to make a difference right now. I see more of a Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, and a Jaden Blue. You probably cut up Phil Maffa, thinking that he's going to make it through waivers. You bring him back, as we talked about with Emory Hunt. He makes the practice squad, and then you keep him just in case there's any injuries along the line. That makes a little more sense to me. You still had Deuce Vaughn as your wild card that you can use. So before we just say this running back room is terrible and we're mad that Nick Chubb possibly could go to the Texans, let's see what you have. Because when I look at this roster and I see Miles Sanders and I see Javonte Williams, I see Miles Sanders with a bad situation in Carolina that could be a good situation in Dallas, and I see Javonte Williams, who was injured and wasn't fully healthy, and now they're over here. So when I see this combo and you sprinkling the Jaden Blue, I don't feel as bad, and I don't feel scary about it, and I think that you should still concentrate on other positions like the defensive tackle and still the cornerback. You know, Jair Alexander got it removed, just got released, but I already said that's a mark. Sorry about that. The video cut out because it ran out of space, but I'm back. But as I was saying, I don't need to say anymore. let's give Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams a chance before we go run out there and say we need a running back. I think it'll be okay. I think the running back room will be all right with Jaden Blue, Miles Sanders, possibly a Deuce Vaughn, and a Javonte Williams. But like I said, when I see these tape of Miles Sanders from Philadelphia and he's 2 years removed, I'm going to go ahead and say there was a bad situation, a worse situation in Carolina more than it was his ability and his skills, then he just fell off the map. Y'all tell me what y'all think. I think Dallas will be okay in that running back room. Y'all need to concentrate on other things. Dallas will be okay. Big Game James, I'm out. Peace.